Well, I thought I'd give you just a talking head update. I failed the tech inspection because of the Lexan windows, and I was kind of hoping that I could squeeze that one by, but it's too big an issue. So I'm going to add the 25 pounds or so to the vehicle and put the glass in. I do have all the glass except for the front windscreen, and I don't want to use a tinted, like a green windscreen. So we'll see. I've through Pelican Parts in North America, I've ordered a window, but it may or may not end up showing up being clear. Sometimes they say they are and they won't be. So it may have to come out of Europe, and which is just like the risk of shipping it and having it not arrive in one piece. But while I'm waiting for that, I've got to get a crank, like the Hall Effect digital crank sensor, put in. It's, as I said, it's going to sandwich in between the fluid damper crank pulley and the crank itself, and use the power steering pump mounting holes right beside the pulley to hold the sensor bracket. So that I got to get that stuff all sorted. And I haven't absolutely, because I haven't got the car back yet from the shop, but because it had a CV boot, one of the brand new CV axles, there's a crack in the boot and it's spewing grease everywhere. So it stayed in the shop for the weekend, going to get that fixed. And they're just looking over everything I've done, and bleeding the brakes, doing a professional alignment. I do have a bit of a problem with my rack and pinion, the Quaife high ratio rack. It's slightly stiffer in one direction than the other, and the guys looked at it and they dismantled most of the steering system and said, it is inside the rack and pinion unit. So it's a bit of a bitch to get out, but I'm going to pull it out. And the other thing is, I'm super unhappy with wrestling with that thing, even just in 2 days of driving it. Low speed parking lot stuff, it's a disaster. I mean, it's so stiff, and the guys that are doing the certification work, they are professional race guys, and they're like, you know what, if you're not spending at least 70% of your time on the track with the car, it's not worth the hassle. So I'm going to very likely switch back to the standard ratio manual rack, the other thing I probably will end up doing is going from the H&R race springs to the H&R sport springs, from the reds to the blues. Reason, again, short wheelbase car, and when you get onto rough roads, expansion joints, that kind of thing, the car tends to bounce around a little bit. So if you don't have a really even surface, it's counterproductive, because the tire patch isn't going to sort of stay firmly planted on the road. So getting too stiff for a street car sometimes means you go slower, right? So maybe it's a good compromise to have the stiffer Bilstein sport race shocks. I've got like the the full race front Bilstein shocks. Maybe leave those super stiff shocks and with the slightly softer, more progressive springs, and maybe even bump the ride height up another 1/4 of an inch. Give it a little bit more suspension travel, because the car is fairly in the weeds right now. So, and the other thing is, I've got the electric Mark II window mechanisms. Haven't seen if they'll fit. Kind of eyeballed it roughly. Looks like I can make it work, but I'll have to pull the door cards off, and I gotta get the windows out anyway, get the glass in, so it'll give me an opportunity to get the electric window mechanisms in. And as I said, the reason why I need to do that is because with the Hertz 6.5 inch mid-woofer in the door, it's right bang beside the window winding mechanism, and I have to make a sharp angle around it with the coil spring, and it just doesn't like it. So, I mean, I could live with it, especially with the glass going back in, because it's curved. It's going to be much smoother rolling in and out on the frame. But gives me a chance to fuck around a little bit, and sorry for the F word there. Get this thing sorted, and So windows, the other thing is I've ordered a larger thermal expansion valve for my electric air conditioning system, and the reason is I had a 1 kilowatt, 0.3 ton capacity valve, and I think it's undersized. And the reason is the system, and I've got temperature sensors all over the place to measure superheat and things. I'll end up with, say, 0 degrees going into the evaporator and like +9 or +8 degrees sometimes coming out. And I'll end up with the same performance with the pump on low as it is on high, except that the system pressure on the high side goes way up when you turn the pump on full. So what's happening is I'm not getting the throughput through the expansion valve, so I'm not getting the additional benefit of the high capacity of the pump. So what I'd like to see is, 0 or -1 going in to the evaporator, and maybe +3, coming out of the evaporator, which means that I'm using the full capacity of the system. So I've gone to a 2 kilowatt, 0.6 ton capacity thermal expansion valve. I'll put that in at the same time. I actually have to yank the evaporator out to do the wiring on the ECU anyway. The evaporator sits right on top of it. There's just a constraint where I mounted it. Sort of sucks. So if I have to actually get access to the wiring harness, I have to pull the evaporator out. And, anyway, so it is what it is. I'm kind of, this is part of debugging. Can't really enjoy the car with a 6,000 RPM limit when the cams are just starting to rock at that point, and then the crank sensor pukes. So really want to get this sorted out one way or another. The glass, whatever, it's going to be quieter with the glass. I can use the 3M CR90 crystalline film on the glass. I couldn't do that on the Lexan. In the Lexan, you just can't put tint on it because it'll outgas and it'll lift the tint and bubble. So with glass in the car, I can put the crystalline in, and the crystalline has almost no tint to it, but it'll cut 50+% of the heat transfer and cut all the ultraviolet out. And so protect the interior, protect the occupants, and keep the car cooler. So, and quieter, because glass is quieter than the Lexan. It's not as safe, but it's quieter. It doesn't, the noise transmission doesn't get through the glass very well. So there we go. It's going to be a couple of weeks before I'll post another update, because I got some work to do here to get it sorted. And I'm also doing a kitchen reno in the house, and got to get some of these car parts, in boxes and out of the house, so I've got room to do the reno, because we got to build a temporary kitchen downstairs. So anyway, thanks for your support, everyone. Really, really appreciate all the feedback. And by the way, if anybody's got a good line on new clear front glass for the Mark 1, let me know. I'm in the market for it. And anybody that's done crank sensors, aftermarket external ones, let me know. Okay, thanks.